Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the podcast mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better, where we're going to be bringing you stories, strategies, and insights from some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the game. Today, we have an incredible guest who is making the waves in the world of PR. Our guest is the founder of Dauntless PR, where she expertly orchestrates media engagement, securing TV, radio, podcasts, and magazine placements for top-tier experts. Her work has landed her and her clients on platforms like Forbes, OK Magazine, Fox TV, and so many more. So this has solidified her reputation as a PR powerhouse, where she went from Scream Queen to PR Queen. So with a leadership style that's both relaxed and laser focused, she runs a transparent remote team that thrives on clear communication. And if you're looking to level up your brand visibility or dive into the world of PR, this episode is one you won't want to miss, because we have the founder of Dauntless PR, Luna. Luna, thank you so much for being here.
What an intro. Thank you so much. It's really great to be here.
Well, I try and pump up my guests as much as they pump up me. And you have an insane amount of energy. So I'm just like trying to be a part of it. I want to thank you so much for being here. We're going to start with the first question. What made you decide to go into the world of entrepreneurship? What was it that sparked you into this world of craziness?
You know, I could never just live that ordinary life. And those who do, great. I just couldn't. I always felt that like there was more. You know, in my 20s, I went from job to job to job to job, and I was miserable and I was blocking things out. And I always felt like I was called for something else, but I didn't know what that was. Also didn't help that I was extremely shy, to the point where I couldn't even talk to people who weren't my close friends and family, you know. My throat would just close up. So it was really conflicting that I was also being called into the spotlight. And I tried everything I could to get away from that pesky voice, to push it away, but it kept calling me and it kept calling me. So, you know, I went into acting first of all, then I set up an acting academy. Then I started helping people with business, and then I went into PR. So it's been a bit of a journey and a lot of exploring what it was that I was really here to do. Like I'm really, really big on entertainment and making people laugh and giving them a break from the pressures of the world. But which is obviously why I got into acting, but that there are so many things in the world that I'm extremely passionate about. Like everybody else, I've experienced and witnessed a lot of things that aren't right, and I've felt powerless to stop them. And I just remember thinking, well, what am I doing here? You know, I felt like I wanted to create this big change, but what when I had so many things that I was passionate about changing, and then I realized, well, I'm here as an amplifier. Like, I'm not the messenger. I'm here to amplify incredible people's voices, and then that creates the ripple effect, which eventually, you know, brings change into the world. And that's always what I wanted to do.
I love that. I love that. As someone who was relatively shy, how did you kind of like deal with that and come into like, because going into acting is kind of like, oh, I'm going to, you know, put myself in the spotlight. If I'm shy, I luckily I'm an introvert, but I love the spotlight. It's really weird. I love the spotlight because I did acting when I was younger. Um, on stage, I didn't do anything movies or anything like that. I wasn't crazy. But how did you deal with like, because being someone who's shy, going up on stage, going into the movies, and having to put yourself out there, but also be kind of reserved. How did you like the duality of that? How did you deal with that?
With a lot of difficulty, honestly. I was so conflicted, like being called in this direction, and also it didn't make sense to me. I didn't want to be around people. I didn't want to, like, I was so terrified. And what I did, I'll never forget this moment when it was back when I was at school, when I was a teenager. And this was when I very first had my dauntless moment, as I call it. That's what my business is called, Dauntless. Um, and it was when I was at the side of a stage. I used to love to dance. And I remember my friend was due to go on stage for some event, and she had an attack of the nerves and she wouldn't go on. And I remember the organisers talking to them to each other, saying, what we're going to do, what we're going to do. I don't know what came over me. And I just walked up to them and I said, I'm going to go on. I'll go on in a place. So I grabbed her costume. I grabbed her music. I didn't have a routine, anything planned. But I went on stage, and that's the first time that I felt like I could really express myself. And it's the first time in my life that I truly felt seen. And at the end of it, I'll never forget that feeling. And I remember just thinking, right, this is it. And then from then, I gave everything into being a performer. So it was dancing initially. No way was I brave enough to act at that point. That would require talking. So I stuck with dancing, and I'd Skype school and pay for my own dance classes. And I went to dance college. And then from there, I gradually went into acting. And I mean, I blocked out that pesky voice calling me for a long time with a lot of alcohol. Okay, I positioned myself as the party girl. That was my identity for a very, very long time. So I would just drink myself silly. And then I got pregnant at 27. So of course I had to change. I was forced into changing my ways. And that's when I started acting. That's when I went, right, fine then. And that's where Dauntless started coming into effect, because that's when I adopted the attitude of, if something scares me, I'm going to run towards it. Like, I recently did my first comedy gig. I'm not a comedian, but I did it because I found myself thinking, I could never go on stage and deliver a stand-up routine. So of course I had to do it. And that's what I've done all my life. Like, since that point, is whatever really scares me that I want to do, I've run towards it full speed. And with Dauntless PR, we encourage clients not to play it safe, not to just talk to the audience where they already agree to us, get on platforms where they don't. That's where the real impact is created. Have a mix of both.
I love that. I love how your story just reiterates how you're fearless. With the first thing of jumping on stage to help your friend out who had a attack of the nerves, a panic attack, if you will, and we're like, I can do this, and you did the dance and you went off, and then you're like, you know what, I like this. I like this feeling of being in the spotlight. And unfortunately, like most of us who have that fear of being in the spotlight but want to be in it, we have a crutch. And you went and you created we you did that party girl, the alcohol, but then you became a mom, and then you knew you needed to shift. And another dauntless, ooh, pardon me, another moment where you needed to step into a higher being of person, and you became this actress. So you became the next evolution of yourself, and then you created this dauntless PR from that. When did the acting shift from being, okay, I'm going to be an actor, to we're going to move into the business world of helping other people get onto stages?
Right. Again, it was a gradual thing. So acting initially absolutely terrified me. And then I started getting comfortable with it. And I, I, I was working as a personal trainer as well at the same time as when I first went into acting. But I decided to let go of the personal training and just focus on acting, and I gave everything to my acting. But what I found was I was starting to lose my passion for it, because I found that, I mean, you've heard that old saying, it's a cliche thing, the struggling actor. But I found myself accepting roles looking at, well, I need to pay my rent this month, rather than what really, really lights me up. And as soon as I started doing that and I realized that I was doing that, I thought, okay, no, no, I love acting. I don't want to do it for the money. I don't want to accept roles based on the payments. Like, that's not what I want. So I opened an acting academy. And the reason I started this acting academy is when I first went into acting, when I was pregnant, 8 months pregnant, in fact. I remember getting private coaching, and the coach got me to do a monologue, got me to watch it back, and the whole time she just sat there saying, "You just haven't got it, have you? You just haven't got it." And I was pregnant and hormonal and emotional, and I didn't react much at the time because I didn't want to burst out in tears in front of her. As soon as I left, though, that's absolutely what I did. And then I thought, this is not good enough. There are people out there right now whose dreams are being absolutely crushed by this person just telling them, you just haven't got it, you're never going to make it, you'll never get paid work. And so I made it my mission, first of all, to prove her wrong, which I did within, I think it was within 2 or 3 months, but pretty quick I got my first paid acting role. And then I opened an acting academy that was going to be the complete opposite. We could see people's brilliance, even if they couldn't. We could see it and we could bring it out. And at the same time, we had an actors agency. Now, naturally, I had worked in PR for a short stint, in an agency that was absolutely fantastic at a lot of things, but there was a lot of smoke and mirrors, which is something I really, really stand against now. And like you mentioned in your introduction, we're very big on openness and transparency. And that's why, because this agency was fantastic, but I couldn't get behind lies. It was lies. And when I tried to call it out, I was then accused of trying to bring our clients down, because all they're doing is boosting their confidence and all of that. But no, I couldn't get behind that. So anyway, I'm running this acting academy, and because of what I'd learned through that PR agency, I started getting them booked for television, radio, all sorts of things, not thinking anything of it at this time, because I'd never been to uni. I didn't get a degree in PR. I didn't do any of that stuff. I only had the experience from the front end. So at this point, I never considered myself a PR professional or thought that that's a direction that I would go into. But I had my own experience where I suddenly increased in visibility, and I needed support, not in getting those bookings, but because I was too close to the story and it was emotional, and I needed somebody to hold my hand and tell me it was going to be okay, and tell me how to deal with this sudden rise in visibility that I had. And I couldn't find that anywhere. I called every agency I could, and I kept getting the same response. And that was, you're getting all of these bookings yourself. There's nothing more we can do to help you. But that's not what I needed help with. So, I mean, I still didn't create it then, but that was the seed that started me thinking, hang on, if it doesn't exist, then somebody needs to create it. But it didn't occur to me that that needed to be me. And my business coach even said to me, why are you just getting people booked for PR? You need to be charging for this stuff. And I remember saying to her, I can't. It's easy. Like I'm not getting them booked for PR. I'm just making connections. And she said, "Well, that is getting them booked. Like that's exactly what you're doing." And I couldn't get my head around because I was very much conditioned that success had to come with struggle. So I couldn't get my head around something coming easy to me and creating a business out of it. So I went in another direction and I set up as a business coach. But what I found was I didn't want to talk about anything other than PR and books. I help people with books as well. But that's what lit me up. And then eventually I just thought, do you know what? I'm going to create what's needed out there. And I'm going to get a team of people to help me, a team of specialists in their own right. And I had been working on a system with my own business, and I'd been testing it and tweaking it and seeing how it worked. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm ready to launch this. So I got a team together. They helped me to refine it. And then I became a client of my own business, and I'm still a client of that business to this day. So my team get two versions of me. There's client Luana and then founder Luana.
It's always good to you're the perfect success story of your business. Like if the owner cannot use their own business, sorry,
Right.
to be a success, then are they really a successful business?
And it's so good as well as a business owner to run through the process through a client's eyes, because I'm constantly spotting things that can be improved constantly, or seeing what feels good, what doesn't feel good. And so we're always refining things that way.
Pardon me. I would like to know, what is the difference between a traditional, you know, news organization or like a PR agency? Because you're not like all the other PR agencies. Dauntless is its own standard, if you will. What do you feel sets you apart from the traditional PR organizations that are out there and Dauntless? Like what is the thing that sets Dauntless apart?
Yeah, so there are quite a few things, and there are some great agencies out there. It's just that we do things a little bit differently. So I think of us as a boutique agency. So we don't have like hundreds and hundreds of clients on our books. We have a very personal relationship with them, really. We think of our clients as family. When they join us, they're part of the Dauntless family. That's it. Like they've got constant access to me and my team, and we support them not just with getting booked, but with everything that happens as a result of that. So that can be the preparation, getting them ready for interviews. It can be helping them to get emotionally ready, because people seriously underestimate quite often the personal growth that comes through like sudden rises in visibility. And that's not always pretty, it can be very uncomfortable. So there's all of that side of it. And then, of course, there's the bookings. And then what do they do with that afterwards? Like, how are they going to maximize on those features? What are they going to do with them to get the best out of them? Because there's so much more that can be done than simply going onto these platforms and then leaving it. Like I'm a big believer that we make things happen, that we allow things to happen, but also that we create those things and that we give them the best opportunities. So we've got systems around that as well. So and we've also got different levels for different depending on where people are at. So it's not kind of a one size fits all. The strategies can vary depending on that person, So we give a very personalized service depending on which level they're at. They're always going to get like the best of us.
I love that. I would love to get a piece of advice for someone who may not be able to afford PR right now. They're getting to that level where they're like, okay, we know we need PR, but we can't afford it right now because it's not in the books. What is one thing that someone can do, a business owner, an entrepreneur, can start to do to set up so that they're ready to engage with a PR agency like Dauntless or anybody else, so that they're kind of already like nearly packaged, so that it's a little easier or a little simpler for you guys to work with them?
Yeah, what a great question. So, the ideal time for PR is when they've already got their foundations in place. So PR is not going to fix anything. It's not going to create anything. It is sometimes missold, so that's something to look out for. It's not going to fix or create anything. What it's going to do is amplify what they're already doing. So the question to ask themselves is, what do I want from the PR? So the people who tend to get the most tangible results out of PR, paradoxically, are the people who go in with the intention of, I'm going to give value and I'm going to create impact. And they go and they deliver their message freely and they trust that what the things they want are going to return to them, and they do. So, number one has to be like, have you got a message? Have you got a message that's going to change lives? Like, in whatever way that is it going to create some sort of positive difference in somebody's life so that becomes a message that can create real impact? And then as for like the more tangible things, like work out what you want. Do you want more leads, sales, all of that stuff, more of a follow, like do you want people to follow you on the socials? And make sure that you've already got those systems in place. So for example, if you want more leads into your business and that's why you want PR, well, make sure that you've got a lead generation strategy in place first and that it's working for you. Okay, so if you've got a lead generation system that works and you shine a spotlight on that with PR is going to help it to work better by increasing your reach and by improving your credibility so that people trust you more, and you're cutting through, your message cuts through the noise more. So basically what you're already doing, it's going to amplify that. But if that's not there in the first place, then it's not going to create or fix anything. Now, on the other hand, people sometimes think that everything has to be perfect, that everything has to be in, they have to have all of their ducks in a row. Spoiler alert, you're never going to have your ducks in a row. None of us do, right? So if you have a system that's working for you, then and you want to maximize on that system. A mistake that people make sometimes, by the way, is if they have a lead generation or sales system and it's working for them, but they want to increase the volume, a big mistake that some people make is they ditch their coach and they start a whole new system with a whole new coach. So then they're just going around in circles. Where actually, I call it I call it coach surfing. They just hop from one to another. But actually, what they need to do is just shine a spotlight on that system because it is working. And then the PR will amplify it and make it work better rather than having to go to a different coach and start everything from scratch.
Love that. And I love the coach surfing.
Oh, I just see so many people like just going round and round in circles, and they don't need to. They just need to stick with what they've got. Stick with your coach. Your coach is great. Shine a light on your system. That's it.
I
If
love
it's
it.
not working at all, of course, that's a different story. But if it is working and you just need more volume, then PR would be a good move.
There we go. What do you do to invest in yourself to stay at the top of your game or get to the top of your game, Luna? What is it that you do?
I always from day one, I have invested heavily in myself. I remember signing up with my first business coach when I wasn't even earning that amount of money. I remember saying to her, I'm going to sign up with you in the next 24 hours and I'm going to have the deposit by then. I was not in a good financial position at the time. I was heavily in debt. I didn't know where that money was going to come from, but I set that intention and I made it happen. And I signed up to her VIP program, getting a lot of support. And since then, like now, I work with two incredible coaches, Shane Harper for business, and I work with Chris Richards, who's a performance coach. And the combination of their teachings and their support together has been absolutely phenomenal. And I would never, ever not invest in myself. I'm going on to an incredible looking retreat in November in Thailand that I'm really looking forward to. I'm always investing in myself, and I'll never ever stop, because there's always more levels to get to. Like, we never stop learning, and so I'll never stop investing in myself.
I love that. Um, with us coming close to the end of the episode, I have a few more stories, questions actually. But with so many media platforms available, how do you decide which outlets or formats, TV, radio, podcasts, etc., are best fit for your client's story, and what factors should entrepreneurs consider when choosing to focus their media efforts?
Look, this is one of the beauties of PR. So with PR, and I'm not talking about pay to play here, I'm talking about earned
Mhm.
media, so pitching and getting booked. The beauty of it is there are no limits. So our strategy is very much about omnipresence. You don't have to choose. You don't have to choose. Go for them all. Like, something that I found is, like, sometimes I'll go on TV, or sometimes I'll go, like, let's say I'm in the newspaper sharing a story, and then that makes it easier to open a door to speak about that on television. The more media you get, the more media that will lead to. Media leads to more media. It's never a choice of, will I do this or that? Unless, like, sometimes you get offered things that are like stories and they want exclusivity. So under those circumstances, then you just have to consider, well, how long is the exclusivity for? That means, like, they won't be able to share that story with any other outlet for that length of time. So you just have to consider, well, is that going to be worth it for me with that outlet? And mostly it is. Like, a lot of the time, these exclusivity contracts are only like a month or 2-3 months, not that long. If they're longer than that, then negotiate them. But yeah, so so that's it really. Like, that is the beauty of PR. And sometimes people do make the mistake of thinking, I only want to be in this, and this. And that leads to them having this energy of tightly controlling their stories. When it comes to PR, one of the more scary things, and we all get scared by it, is that we do have to release a certain amount of control. We tell our story and then we have to let go of it and trust that it's going to reach the right people. And also trying not to obsess over it afterwards, trying not to scrutinize and all of that kind of thing, and just trust that it came across the way it was meant to.
I love it. Oh my God.
It's like, what we were saying earlier as well about having the most impact when you go on platforms
Yeah.
for people who don't agree with you. Because something that people say to me a lot is, oh, I don't want to go on that outlet because they don't align with my values. And that's my attitude towards that, is, why not? Like, yeah, go on those platforms who agree with you for sure, but also go on the ones that don't. Like, don't choose. Be open to anything. Be open to anything, because they are different audiences. It's not like when you're on the socials and you might feel like you're repeating yourself a bit because you're talking to the same audience. Even if you keep building on that audience, the same people are going to be there. But with traditional media, well, that's not it. You're going in front of different audiences all the time.
I love it. It's such great wisdom. And I'm going to get one last piece of wisdom from you, Nuna, before we end this amazing conversation. I have your 10-year-old self here. I would love to know, what is a piece of advice you would love to be able to hand back to your 10-year-old self?
Oh, as you ask that, I'm getting chills. So that was one terrified little girl who didn't believe in herself at all, who was absolutely full of social anxiety, who didn't feel like she was good enough, and who tried to blend in. And I want to say to her, you were never born to blend in. Look, I know that's really cheesy, but I can't put it any other way. And I say this to my kids now, you know, we're all born in the on this world for a reason, and if you ever felt like you didn't fit in, it's because you were absolutely never meant to. And that's one of the beauties, isn't it, of being alive in this time today. Like, we can connect with people from all over the world. Like, I come from a very small town, and I very much felt like I didn't fit in, and I thought there was something wrong with that. So that's the message that I'd want to get across to my 10-year-old self.
I love it. Oh, such great advice for 10-year-olds and 90-year-olds, if you will, who haven't learned that lesson yet. Luna, I'm going to jump off stage here. I want you to tell my audience where they can connect with you if they're looking to get some dauntless PR for their business and take their PR status to the next level.
Yeah, so visit dauntlesspr.com, and also follow me on the socials, Luana Ribeira. Send me a message. I'd love to say hi.
Straight to the point. I love it. Luna, I want to thank you so much for being here. It was an amazing time chatting with you and learning all about the different versions of PR and your story about how you went from, you know, grabbing the bull by the horns, jumping on that stage for dance, to where you are today. It's been an amazing time. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
To my audience, make sure you check out the show notes down below to connect with Luna and Dauntless PR so that you can take your PR to the next level and be the superstar you deserve to be, and uniquely qualified star that you are. And I love you all. And remember to always, always invest in yourself.